psychiatrist who's an expert in schizophrenia, who has also been hired to testify in hundreds of criminal cases. He wasn't Jordan Neely's doctor, but Dr. Alexander Sasha Bardet evaluated thousands of pages of medical records of Neely's from 2015 to 2021 and spoke on Neely's diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. Dr. Bardet is a Harvard-educated forensic psychiatrist who said based on the 4,000 to 5,000 pages he reviewed of Neely's medical records, which included numerous hospitalizations, it was evident that Neely suffered from severe paranoid schizophrenia and did not take his medications and instead often used the drug K2 to self-medicate. K2 was found in his system after the chokehold. Dr. Bardet testified that schizophrenic people have symptoms of hallucinations and have difficulty distinguishing reality from fantasy. The medical records stated he volunteered that Tupac Shakur has used him to change the world. When asked to elaborate, he rambled about people switching hairstyles and people giving out free food. He also voiced extensive paranoia about how people are targeting him because they are jealous of him. Another page read, stayed at Bedford Atlantic Shelter 2 days ago, but states he prefers to live on the street.
It makes me feel sad. Some of the things are true. Like, I actually ran into my nephew on the train and tried to get him and pull him in, and he actually ran from me.
Another witness today called to testify by the defense was Gina Flame Penny, Daniel Penny's mother. She said her son is honest, empathetic, and compassionate, as did the 3 other character witnesses who also took the stand on Tuesday, including Nathaniel Dunshee from Texas, who served in the Marines with Penny. During cross-examination, prosecutors brought up this TikTok video where he shows a gun from his fanny pack. In redirect, the defense asked if the attitude towards guns are different in Texas than New York, to which Dunshee replied, yes.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. Free Daniel Penny. That is the title of today's video. So if you guys remember, Daniel Penny is the Marine that stepped in on that subway train in New York when this guy, this kid that they've been talking about, what was his name again?
Oh, I forget. I'll pull it up in the article here in a second.
But yeah, so this kid was
Jordan
Neely was running around on this subway train, threatening to kill people. Like, he's a schizophrenic running around scaring people. Like, I mean, there are people that New Yorkers are used to crazy people on subways. They're used to it. It's nothing. They interviewed a lady, and she was like, I was legitimately scared for my life, and I had my kid with me. Like, I was terrified. And she was like, when Daniel Penny stepped in, she goes, I felt safe. Daniel Penny is the Marine that put this Jordan Neely guy in a chokehold and held him in a chokehold until they got to the next stop when the police arrived. Now, the kid eventually died because he was sitting there in this chokehold position. But again, you have a man threatening to murder people. I mean, if New York convicts this Daniel Penny guy, they are putting a green light on murder. They're putting a green light on, yeah, no, you know what, citizen, you are not, there's no such thing as a responsible citizen. There's no such thing as someone stepping up and doing the right thing. I mean, remember in Philadelphia, there was a girl on a train who got R-worded, assaulted on a train of the sexual variety, and people just watched. They just, like, literally, is this a society you want? Where people just pull out their phones and go, don't worry, ma'am, we'll send this to the police. We'll get this guy convicted for you. Or do you want all the dudes on that train to be like, well, time to kick somebody's ass? What world do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a world where we all just go, don't worry, ma'am, we've got you. We've got you, ma'am. I've got a good angle of this. Or do you want it to be, hey, get off her now?
Honestly, it feels
this is the society New York is cultivating.
Yeah. Honestly, it feels like those guys are like, here, this will be great for your OnlyFans, ma'am.
Oh, my God. But yeah, but I mean, this is where we are in society right now. This is sad. This is pathetic. The fact that Daniel Penny is being prosecuted for stepping up and protecting people on a train. Now, is it sad that this guy's schizophrenic? Yes. But his family should have been more proactively involved in trying to get him maybe committed to some type of asylum or keeping him locked up in their house. I don't know, folks. I don't have the answer, but what I can tell you is Daniel Penny stepped up. He saw something happening on a train, stepped up to do the right thing, and unfortunately, some kid lost his life. But when you threaten to kill people, you are actively putting your own life at jeopardy.
Yeah. And this just goes to show you is New York is all about punishing people trying to do the right thing. I mean,
Yes,
if
criminals have more protections, and have more civil
than
protections
people.
than citizens do.
Yes, and that's the point of this. Is like any person who sees this something like this happening again is going to question, oh, I don't want to end up like Daniel Penny.
I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to be put on trial like Daniel Penny. I mean, the other guy that helped her, the other guy in a video. So why don't you pull up the footage? Oh, I guess never mind. We already saw the footage. There's another guy in that video that was helping. Like
it's in the picture. If you're watching right now and you're seeing the thumbnail, there's this Hispanic guy right here that's helping Daniel Penny.
Hid for months because he was afraid that he heard that Daniel Penny was being prosecuted. He was afraid.
And because Alvin Bragg is a racist, he gave this guy off. He let him off because he's a person of color, but Daniel Penny is getting the book thrown at him.
Yes. Alvin Bragg is a racist. Alvin Bragg he's the black DA, right?
Yeah, he is the black district attorney in New York right now.
Yeah,
and
I'll
he
levy
is
that
going
against him.
after Daniel Penny hardcore because this guy is just as culpable right here.
Yeah,
this guy right
he
here
is an
just
accomplice
culpable, and he
to
gave him a plea deal.
Like gave him a plea. He didn't even give him a plea deal.
Yeah.
He just said, "No, we're not prosecuting.
Yeah.
We're not
you
pursuing
have
you
I'm
for
sorry,
charges."
immunity. He
Yeah.
gave him immunity.
We're not pursuing you for charges. We're just going after this guy. I mean, if that's not like race-based discrimination, then I don't know what is. It's a sad state of affairs.
Think about this. The 3 cops for George Floyd, the 3 cops, 2 of them who weren't even, kneeling on the guy's back, got prison time. And this guy is actively involved in restraining this guy, and he didn't get any prison time?
Yeah.
Something's off here. Something is going on. This is the 2-tier justice system that Trump and all these other conservatives' voices are talking about. It's liberals are playing to a different standard when it comes to different folks, or should say different folks of color.
Back in the day, back in the 80s, whenever the subways started getting real dangerous again like they are now, there was a guy that brought a gun, and he was getting robbed, and he just said, and it was just a regular dude. He's like, no, I'm not getting robbed. And he pulls a 38 pistol out and shoots the guy that's trying to rob him. Nobody on the train was upset. In fact, everyone was like, that was awesome. It was so cool. Like I'm so people back in the 80s, like I was so sick of getting shook down on the train that when this random dude pulled out a 38 and said, "No, I'm good," bang, shot the guy. Everybody on the train was cheered. They're like, "Good job, man. That was awesome."
And then I'm pretty sure he got off. There's no court conviction or anything.
No,
they might have dropped the trial.
They did. There was no case for the guy. Like they just dropped the charges. Like because people were so again. This is where New York.
Make New York great again.
Yes. Come to the aid of Daniel Penny. Everyone in New York needs to be like, free this man. He is a former Marine, served his country, and saved people on the train. And the people on the train were thankful and grateful. Why are we prosecuting this guy?
Yeah. The only people that are upset by this are government officials. They're like, it's not right that people take vigilante justice.
It's
the
not-
Batman argument.
It's not right that people take civic responsibility and try to help people around them, protect others. It's not your job to protect others. That's the government's job. Yeah. So, again, this is wrong. It's pathetic. And Alvin Bragg, the DA of New York, should be absolutely ashamed of himself. They should throw this case. They should throw this case out, and the entire city of New York should literally walk to the courthouse and be like, let him out now.
100%, 100%. But
New York. You are creating a society I don't want to live in.
Yeah.
No woman should want to live. No woman should feel safe in New York.
This is what all those people, like I said, when I went to basic training, it's like all the guys from New York. I was like, I have no interest in going to New York. New York is a fallen state, in my opinion, and this proves my point why.
Yeah. So free Daniel Penny. But yeah, we've got.
What did Hank Williams say? If heaven ain't a lot like Dixie,
I don't want to go.
Don't want to go.
Send me to hell or New York City.
Yep.
It seemed about the same to me.
Yep. But anyway, I'll go ahead and read this. This is the most recent article that I read. There could be a new one that came out today, but I doubt the trial has resumed yet. But Daniel Penny's defense calls for forensic pathologists to witness to the stand. The choke did not cause the death, he says. Now, Dr. Satis Chundru, I don't know how to say that name. It's a very Indian-sounding name. That's Asian. You made it sound Asian.
It's Asia Minor.
Uh-huh. But anyway, says the evidence does not support the claim that Penny's chokehold killed Jordan Neely. In New York, the Marine veteran on trial for the subway choking death of Jordan Neely called on expert forensic pathologist to the witness stand Thursday, and he came to the dramatically different conclusion than the New York medical examiner's office. The chokehold did not cause the death. Dr. Satish Chunduru testified. Yeah, he's definitely Indian. Daniel Penny, 26, faces up to 15 years in prison if convicted on the top charge he faces, manslaughter for the death of 30-year-old Neely. On his way to the gym after class at New York College in May 2023, when Neely, a homeless man with schizophrenia and a drug habit, barged into the subway car and shouted death threats. Chunduru, a former Miami area medical examiner who now runs a medical practice in Texas conducting autopsies in half a dozen countries, said that he did not believe that an air choke caused Neely's unconsciousness, and therefore he did not cause his death. So, again, and anyone who's ever been in done martial arts or any type of grappling knows that chokeholds kind of just knock you out. I mean, you can kill somebody with a chokehold, but you have to be holding on to them after they pass out. Once they pass out, you let them go normally.
Yeah, or you take the pressure off. But here's the thing: like all this toxicology, all this cause of death report is irrelevant. It's all irrelevant. The principle here is: do people in New York City have the right to defend themselves?
Yes.
And that's what's on trial right now. If they convict Daniel Penny, the answer is no. No one in New York has the right to defend themselves. You have to be a permanent victim in New York.
Yeah. Anyway, let me finish up this article. Chunduru, a former... Oh, we already did that one. The cause of death, he thinks the cause of death could be combined effects of sickle cell crisis, the schizophrenia, and a struggle and restraint, and the synthetic marijuana that he was constantly using. Someone schizophrenic, high on K2, involved in the struggle, which that's what they even said in the video we were watching, K2. And involved in the struggle can die without chokehold being involved at all, he said. So basically, it's the same kind of evidence of the George Floyd incident. He said he took a bunch of drugs.
The George Floyd trial is being called back too. Like they're going to re-examine the evidence and go back over it again. In fact, the guy will probably get off and sue the city for prosecuting him.
Yeah, 100%. He deserves it. So anyway, similarly, he said if there is no health issues, the chokehold was only factor, Neely would not have died. If the chokehold was the only factor, Neely would not have died. See? In your opinion, did Mr. Penny's choke on Mr. Neely to death in 2023, defense lawyer, lead to his death? And he goes, no. The doctor replied before the defense ending his questioning. In a cross-examination, the assistant Manhattan District Attorney, Daphna Yoren, grilled him on some of his past cases in an instant and ruled in asphyxiation. Sorry, I cannot talk today. And the defense expert disputed his findings, pointing out that there was cocaine in the victim's system. So again, if there's drug-related within a chokehold, it seems like there's more likely chance that someone's going to die because they have drugs in their systems. They're extremely hyped up, and someone's trying to restrain them. So they probably give themselves like a miniature heart attack, really.
Well, I hear you, but again, everything you're reading is totally irrelevant to the actual principle of this case.
Yeah.
Again, the point is, do you want to live in a city where you're allowed to defend yourself, or do you want to live in a society where it's like, nope, the criminals have more civil rights than you do? Again, if you decide to stay, I'm going to murder someone, you're going to act on a train and act a fool, you are surrendering your right to safety. You're surrendering your right to live because you're threatening other people. That's just the way it is, folks. Yeah. So what else you have here, Chad? What else is...
really, all I have here is the Dr. Cynthia Harris is the medical examiner
That's
of
the
New
one
York
that's
City.
trying to throw him under the bus.
And yes, it is, and she's the one that she saw the act on TV, and she stopped all of her medical examination. She said it was definitely the chokehold, which shows if you didn't complete the whole autopsy and do everything else, why on earth would you just assume from watching a video?
She's thrown her own medical practice under the bus. It's like, well, the chokehold did it. I'm not going to check anything else. Well, what is your job, ma'am? Well, again, it's the scene from Office Space. What would you say you do here?
Yeah. She said Harris found the chokehold that killed Neely, not the synthetic drugs in his system, his sickle cell disorder, or any cardiac arrest.
What a load of crap.
Yeah. So this is a very complicated case. Chundru testified. We have a schizophrenia, involved sickle cell trait, involved a chokehold. So a lot of stuff going on. And that's really, additionally, the K2, they talk about the K2 is it's more like cocaine. So whatever that is, I mean, cocaine is bad for you. But yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff, and I agree with what you say. It's completely, are you allowed to defend yourself in New York? And New York City does not want New Yorkers to defend themselves. Like, no, that's not your job. Let the police do that.
No, I mean, let the government figure out all your problems. The government will solve all your problems. You are just a bystander. You're an NPC. Do as you're told. Do as you're programmed to do. Don't think for yourself. Don't defend yourself. Somebody walks by and punches you, just take it. Yeah, you got this cartoon here pulled up, right?
Yes. Let me go ahead and do one quick thing real quick. I need to get rid of that logo real quick. There we go. Yeah, but this is a cartoon from SKS Cartoon, and he just crushes it on, I think, his little cartooning right here. But it says, how Daniel Penny had New York's back. And he's protecting all these people on the train from, Neely. And then how New York had Daniel's back. And indictment.
Yeah, it's true. It's knife to his back.
Yep, and here he is trying to do the right thing, and what's New York doing to him? Screwing him over.
Yeah,
screwing him over.
The city of New York should be absolutely ashamed of itself. They should go back to the way it was in the 80s, whenever they were celebrating that guy that shot the mugger on the train. Like, people were like, dude, they were like, that was awesome. I was so happy that that guy stood up for himself, and it makes the rest of us feel like we can stand up for ourselves too. What are you looking for?
I'm going to look for that New Yorker guy.
Oh, quick. Yeah. But yeah, so again, I don't care about any of the adjudication of the case. I don't care about any of the testimony. The principle of this case is, are you allowed to defend yourself in the state of New York? And right now, the city of New York saying no, you can't. And again, do not convict Daniel Penny. If they convict him, it's over. Like, you have to live in a perpetual state of victimhood in New York. And I mean, that's a lot of people. That's the society we are cultivating. We are cultivating a society of people that would rather be victims than be responsible citizens. We don't want personal responsibility. That's too much work. We want the victimhood. We want to be able to sue somebody. We want to be able to monetize the outcomes. It's like, no. We have to take some responsibility for our society.
Oh, that's way too long, but I've got it right here.
Yeah.
The guy that did it was Bernhard Goethes, shot for use on a New York subway train in Manhattan after they allegedly tried to rob him. And all four victims survived. And nobody on the train, cared. Oh, man. Yeah, I remember this, crazy, man.
Yeah, Actual Justice Warrior did kind of like an analysis of this, where he showed the Daniel Penny stuff to this stuff, and that's where I came up with this connection as well. Actual Justice Warrior. So yeah, it's awesome that back in the day, back in the 80s, back in the heyday, the Reagan era, it's like, hey, people were like, woo, yes, we're not victims anymore. This guy stood up for himself, carried a gun in New York, and they said this is about the time they started banning guns in New York.
Yeah.
Like the 90s is when they took that whole gun ban thing to the extreme, and they said you're not allowed to own a gun in New York ever, because they're afraid so many people. Because everyone always goes to the worst place. It's like they're going to start pulling out guns, and there's going to be cowboy gunfights out on the train. It's like, no, there's not. People are going to be less likely to rob you because they're like, I don't know who's armed on this train and who's not.
Yeah, exactly. And here's what it says here. He was found guilty of third-degree criminal possession of a weapon, not guilty on any other charge.
Yeah, baby.
So New York was still, despite the fact that they made the right call and not guilty on the murder charges, still super anti-gun New York.
Yeah,
we hate you.
Got him on the gun charge, which is sad. Again, New York has always been anti-gun. It's always been bad. It's sad. It's like an armed society is a polite society. Mm-mm. Like, nobody's going to run around. Like, we don't have the honor culture problem that we have back in, gang culture does. Like, Chicago gang culture, they do. Insult me, I'm going to come after you. Most people just turn again, we thank God for Jesus. It's like, turn the other cheek. They go low, you go high. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. So we'll kind of push on here because we are kind of testing the limits of our time here. But why don't you pull up that Freedom Tunes video? Unless you want to end with that one.
I'll end with that one, but what I have here is just also related. The Laken Riley fought her illegal immigrant attacker for 18 minutes. Don't you dare tell me that I didn't vote to protect women. And I think that's a great meme. But also just like her, and just speaking of which, her trial just closed. Like the guy was found guilty on all counts.
And the sad part is they never once referred to him as an illegal alien or an illegal immigrant. They never used the word illegal person at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad, folks. That's sad. That's the level.
Yep. And then just don't forget that the reason that all this stuff's going on is from politics like AOC right here and other politicians that were voting and trying to advocate for defunding the police. And then what happens? Here they are. I mean, this cartoon, this meme right here is perfect. It's like defund the police. Here she is with her Secret Service protection detail, extra security, while the American people are being ransacked, mugged, and killed. It's ridiculous.
Again, when you advocate for a defunding of the whole BLM movement was nothing but a scam, guys. Like, there were 7 or 8 unarmed black men killed by police last year under questionable circumstances. That's questionable. That means the police could have been right or they could have been wrong. It's questionable circumstances. That's it. Like, the mainstream media and BLM would have you believe that thousands upon thousands of unarmed black men were shot by police. That is not true. 8. I mean, that's why the whole George Floyd thing, like, the George Floyd event is the unicorn event as far as white on black police crime. Like, that's it. And again, I would still say George Floyd asked to be taken out of that car. He asked to be put on the ground. All that was done on his behest.
Yes.
And they have to maintain control of their suspect.
Yep.
So again, when you defund the police, don't be surprised when crime goes up everywhere where you have defunded the police. And when the police, and then you have good police officers who left those cities to go become police officers in other places where they know that they're going to have their back. They're not going to go and be a police officer in New York because they're going to go, I'm going to get prosecuted and I'm going to be thrown in jail forever if I do one bad thing.
Well, and then the other point is like we hear about people ODing at parties and stuff all the time, and it's not like they're being choked. They literally took some bad drugs and then they OD'd on them and died. And we don't say anything, but George Floyd literally ate a bunch of drugs that he had in his car, got arrested, and then it's the cop's fault because he was supposedly choking him. I would say it was probably the drugs and he OD'd.
Yeah, again, when you swallow enough fentanyl to kill a bull calf, a bull elephant, like, what do you think's going to happen? Like, I built up an immunity to these drugs. I mean, I'm sure everyone who's ever done cocaine and overdosed on cocaine thought that they built up an immunity to cocaine.
It also doesn't help that it makes you feel like you're invincible.
Yeah.
At the time too.
So again, don't be surprised when you get the outcomes you ask for. I mean, Democrats have always been the party of pro-criminality and the party of anti-law. Democrats are not the law and order candidates. Republicans are. This is why Republicans are back in power now.
Yep.
People want law and order back in this country.
Yep. 100%, but I'm ready to end the show unless you want to talk about this one that you brought up. Or want to save that for another day.
I mean, we can play it real quick. I mean, this goes to show you the lack of common sense that's been applied in the justice system. So again, this is an accumulation proving the point of the stupidity in Democrat policies as far as law enforcement goes. So check this one out. This was shocking to me.
Remember that New Jersey dude who was charged of rape, who decided to transition so he'd be sent to a woman's prison, then raped and impregnated his inmates? Or the guy from Scotland who did that, or the guys from California that did that, or I'll save you the time, there's hundreds of men raping women in prisons right now. This new story might be the most disgusting, though. A BC man raped a 3-year-old. Wait, did I say 3 years? I meant 3 months! He transitions, and not only is he sent to a women's prison, he's sent to a mother's and children's ward. So once he's imprisoned, he immediately starts making lewd and lascivious comments about the children. One mother stands up and says, "Get the f*** away from my kid, you f***ing pedophile." The man then beats the shit out of the woman, cracking 2 of her ribs. Is he reprimanded? No. The woman is, for hate speech, for calling him a pedophile, which he is. Some rules just make no sense. In Minnesota, per se, there's taxpayer-funded transgender surgery for inmates, but they won't send you to the women's prison after. BC is way more extreme, though. If you go to transrightsbc.ca, you'll find a whole guide on how to get away with crimes and evade the law. I dare you to find a news article on this guy, though. Google Bing. This story is buried. Remember that New Jersey dude who was charged of rape?
My God.
Again, policies that just don't make sense.
This is why Nancy Mace is trying to introduce this bill.
Yeah.
This is why I also had this pulled up, because it's completely relevant.
Yes, it's all related. I mean, they're all individual cases, but they're all related to poor Democrat policies. Again, if you don't want your kids going to the bathroom with men, that's a good thing. Especially your little girls. You don't want a grown man going into the girls' bathroom. What's wrong with that? So, again, this is societal collapse right here. This is what societal collapse looks like. Whenever they start bringing in gender ideology and sexual advancements, that's when societies fall. So we have to get a hold on this before we lose control of this society. I mean, this is what happens right before the brink. It's scary and it's sad. But again, in what world would we have ever put a guy who was transgender into a prison with women
and children?
That is putting a fox in a hen house. Oh, he'll protect them. They'll be safer with him in here. Like, are you kidding me? You're gonna come back to a bloodbath, or in that case, a lot of women pregnant, or a lot of children taken advantage of in the most horrible way.
Mm-hmm.
So, just, I don't know. Democrat policies lead to self-destruction. Period. I don't know what else to say. This modern progressive movement is destroying the moral foundations of our country. That's why we need a return to Jesus. We need a return to Christian moral values. This country cannot last unless it is a moral and Christian country. Yes. We have to have a morally upstanding people, morally righteous people. So with that being said, that's about all we've got for you today. We're going to end the show with a funny video from Freedom Tunes. I recommend going to Freedom Tunes and subscribing to his channel. He has got some amazing content. So our hats off to Seamus of Freedom Tunes. So that's about all I've got for you today. Don't be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But that's all I've got for you today. God bless you.
See you later, everybody.
Have you ever heard the story of the Subway Strangler?
Who? Whoa, you mean the white supremacist who killed people on the subway? I thought the media covered that story up.
What are you guys talking about? His name was Daniel Penny. Imagine, it's a dark and stormy night. You're riding the subway, going about your business, screaming at other passengers about how you'll kill them all, and you aren't afraid to go back to jail, Of course.
That's normal. That's just what you do.
I'll kill all of you! I'm gonna murder every one of you! I'm gonna kill you! That's just what you do when the Subway Strangler isn't there! What if he is there?
I can't imagine that.
Oh, Jordan Neely didn't have to imagine it. Legend has it that after his 44th arrest, and after kidnapping a child and beating up an old lady on the subway on separate occasions, while he was innocently screaming threats at other passengers, the Subway Strangler showed up! Ooh! And put him in a chokehold to bring him down to the ground to get him to stop threatening all the other people on the subway! So just know, if you're an unhinged subway rider who's kidnapped children, beat up old ladies, has 44 prior arrests, and is currently threatening everyone around you with death, you might be next! Ooh! I'm gonna kill you! I'll kill all of you! I'm gonna murder every one of you! It happened! I'm gonna kill all of you! It's just part of being in the woods! I'm gonna kill you!